Now, in trying to figure out what good inferences are, that is, in one of my classes, somebody asked somebody who wasn't a native speaker of English asked, what is the concept of an inference? What exactly does it mean? An inference or inferring is the process of drawing a conclusion from some premises. So what we want to see is, how do we get this good connection between the premises and the conclusion? And what I'm going to suggest is that we want to take a look at a couple of good arguments, or arguments that we think have good connections between the premises and the conclusion. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Classic example, we've seen this one before. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. And that's the way we're going to put our arguments in standard form. And I'm going to suggest this is a good argument. If we think about it for a while, we're going to see the conclusion really does follow from the premises. It is valid, and we're going to spend some time figuring out what that means. Another example that is a good argument. All communists admire Marx. Ronald Reagan did not admire Marx. Remember, Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States when he brought down, at the time when his policies helped to bring the end to the Soviet Union, the communist empire. Therefore, Ronald Reagan was not a communist. Now, it's not saying that any of the premises are true, although I think they are in this case, but the idea is there's a good connection, there's a strong connection between those premises and that conclusion, same as there was in the first argument. Another argument that I think we can all agree looks like a good argument, and we have that good inference. All dogs are mammals. All mammals are warm-blooded. Therefore, all dogs are warm-blooded. So the one thing we want to concentrate on now is figuring out what makes these inferences good. That is, what makes, in each of these cases, why are we able to infer, to conclude that number 3, the conclusion, from those two assumptions? What makes those inferences good? And the one thing they have in common, I'm going to tell you, is what we're going to call good logic. Because when we look at the concept of logic, logic is really dealing with the connection of premises and conclusion. That is, in English, sometimes people will say things like, oh, what you said is logical, or your argument is logical. Sometimes it means good. Sometimes it means it's factually correct. I could buy it. But logic has nothing to do with the facts of the world. When we're talking about logic itself, logic properly, we're talking about the connection between reasons and the conclusion of an argument. That is, the premises and the conclusion of the argument. So the logic is good, or the inference is what we're calling valid, if the premises really constitute good reasons for believing the conclusion.